Hi, I'm Midge Shoemaker, and today is day 34 of my doing 100 days of YouTube videos and focusing on my writing. Yay for my writing. Sorry, my brain is having a hard time remembering which day I'm doing. And then I was like working on writing, and gratitude was popping into my head, and I'm like, yes, I did my 100 days of gratitude. Now I'm doing my 100 days of writing. But I am grateful to have made it to day 34. Yay! 66 days to go, and 6 is my favorite number, so yay! Uh, I know, I get excited over little things. I think it's amazing that I can still get excited over little things. I like that about myself. Trying a little bit different thing with my videos today. I used to do it with my camera, and then I had issues with it taking up too much space on my phone, so I stopped doing that. But for some reason, when I keep trying to upload it on YouTube, it keeps not uploading, and then I have to keep finding the videos in my camera and uploading it anyway. So I thought I would try it this way instead. I don't know if it actually makes any difference, and not that I'm going to start editing them. I think at some point in the future, way far in the future, I might do like 100 days of editing and teach myself how to edit YouTube videos and make them look all nice and schmancy, and I don't know, add music to the background or put words and stuff all over whatever it is that I'm doing. I don't know. That's a random fantasy because, I think in my brain I'm going to just keep doing 100 days of things to add to my repertoire of things that I'm learning how to do or things that I'm working on for myself. So, and one of them needs to be stop rambling and going off on random tangents. That would be good too. Those are all things I could edit out someday. Anyway, writing today. I basically slept through most of today, and I am so ready to go back to sleep right now too. But I did decide to work on Little I and the Teachers of Powers. I have not worked on Recognizing God's Hand in my life. I think I'm just going to finish Little I and the Teachers of Powers. I have like 2 chapters left. I got through chapter 20. I did look at my friend's notes, my friend that we beta swapped stories, my beta reader friend. Anyway, um, and it was really funny because I read through the chapter first, and then I looked at her comments, and I was like, yeah, most of what she was commenting on was the fact that I didn't italicize the internal thoughts, because I italicized the internal thoughts at the beginning, and then somewhere in the middle I forget to do that. And then I'll do some in the middle of the chapter and some not. So I actually caught most of the errors when I was rereading it that she pointed out. So I was like, yay! I'm catching my own mistakes. That's a good thing. But there wasn't any like real comments about the writing for that chapter in and of itself. There was a couple things where she thought should be put in a different order, which I don't know. I thought they were okay in the order they were at, but I was like, all right, I could rearrange the order a little bit. It works. It worked okay. I think it worked okay either way, but I went ahead and changed it. And then um, But then I was thinking I need to add something to the end of it, but I didn't want to add something or change the ending until I read chapter 21, because I don't remember. See, this is the problem with me when I write things. I don't actually remember what's in chapter 21 or chapter 22. Like, I remember the gist of the story. I remember what happens. At the end, I don't remember what I wrote. I don't remember the conversations I had with the characters. I don't remember what things they did. I don't remember. And I've got all these great ideas popping in my head as to what they can say and what they can do, as if I was writing it all for the first time, like it's all brand new. But I don't want to just throw in all the brand new ideas if the old ones work the way that they are, because there's no point in changing it if it works. If it doesn't work, then I'm like, ooh, I can throw this in. I could change it to the new stuff, or I can add the new stuff, because maybe the new stuff will just complement the old stuff. But I have to actually take the time to read through it before I make changes. So I had ideas to change the ending of chapter 20, which I kind of reviewed tonight. But I didn't want to change the end of chapter 20 until I look at chapter 21 and 22 to figure out what I put in those chapters, because it is possible that what I'm thinking in my head I could actually do in chapter 21, and it might actually work better in chapter 21 than it would in chapter 20. But it depends on what I did in chapter 21. So again, see, I'm kind of, yeah, kind of a little bit all over the place. I'm like, okay, And I'm not entirely sure I like the beginning of chapter 20. It just kind of, I mean, it kind of starts, but it doesn't really say where she's at or what's going on. It's just kind of her internal thoughts. And I'm like, it's a little bit confusing. So I think I need to go back and add like a sentence or two just to clarify where she's at. That, because when I first read it, I thought she was in one room. And then when you get to the next sentence or paragraphs with everything that's going on, she's in a completely different place. And I was like, I probably need to add something, just like a couple sentences, a description thing, just stating kind of where she's at before she has her internal thoughts, which I was just thinking of when I'm doing this video, which is why I like doing these videos. Random thoughts pop into my head. I will probably not do that tonight. I might do that tonight so I don't forget, because I have a tendency to forget things too. I just remember being vaguely confused at the beginning of the chapter, and I just, but when I'm not awake or I don't feel good, my brain doesn't function very well, so I have a hard time focusing on what to change. But I do like that when I'm working on my books, my writings, that most of the time those other things go away and I can focus. Which, kind of like my character, I can forget to eat, I can forget to sleep, I can forget all the other things because I'm focused on what I'm doing. Not necessarily that's a good thing. I mean, I like that I can do that. I'm like, oh, I can pretend I don't have a headache while I'm writing. I can pretend this. But it's not necessarily good, because then I'm depriving my body of things that it needs, and I'm not paying attention to myself. And then I just make myself worse, and I don't need to be worse. So tonight I probably spent like half an hour, maybe 30 minutes was all, because I just wanted to do that. And then I forgot to charge my phone. So my phone was on like 18%. So I'm like, I can't do a video on 18%. So I plugged in my phone, and then I got around to reading my scriptures and meditationals, and then I wrote in my journal, which I haven't done for the last 2 nights. So that was kind of nice to just write in my journal, to remember a few random things, to see that I'm okay, that I'm doing okay. I'm doing a lot of things, and I've just been dealing maybe with a lot of triggers, a lot of things going on, joys of writing stuff, and realizing that maybe that's why I'm not working on recognizing God's hand in my life right now, because 1, I don't feel very good, and 2, I'm already feeling triggered and emotional, and I just don't want to add to that by working on something else that brings up more emotions and more triggers. I need to work through the stuff that I'm dealing with right now, and it's not horrible things. It's just, I like going to counseling because it helps me process things, but it also brings up things. And then some of the things that were brought up, one of my friends is calling and talking about, and she's having issues, and I'm just feeling like, and I'm back to being a teenager when I'm not in a good situation. Kind of role reversal things, a bunch of other stuff, and just basically just seeking attention, not feeling ignored, basically. And I know I'm not being ignored. That's what's going on in my life. I just I guess I feel like all of my energy is being sucked out or given to other people, and feeling like I need to fill myself up, and I need to have my own energy and my own power, and I know that's true. That's very true. I need to fill myself up before I can give to others. But it's interesting that sometimes I get filled by giving to others as well. Like doing these videos and working on my books is actually fulfilling to me. I don't know, it fills a void inside of me. It helps me to feel like I'm fulfilling a goal, meeting a purpose, and then I can help other people on top of that, because other people can watch what I'm going through or dealing with, and it's beneficial. So talking to my friend who's going through a hard time is helpful, and I don't mind talking to her and helping her, but sometimes it's also draining. And I feel like I'm being really repetitious, like I do in my videos. And sometimes I think I'm just really repetitious because I want to be heard, because I want attention. I'm still seeking outside validation and confirmation instead of validating myself and taking care of myself. So just more things for me to learn and to work on. And not that any of those things are like bad or terrible or whatever. It's just that it's just that, when you spend so much time feeling neglected and not having those emotional needs met and not being validated, that having those triggers come up kind of feels the same way, like all over again. And then the next section in my book for recognizing God's hand in my life just happens to be feeling invisible or being invisible or being ignored. I think is what I titled it, was being ignored. And I'm like, great, I'm already feeling like I'm being ignored. I don't want to write about being ignored. And I know I'm not being ignored. That's not it at all. It's just those were the things that were brought up at the end of my counseling session. And then, um, it's just, yeah, it's hard for me to explain. And I don't like getting into all of it, but I don't know why I bring these things up if I don't want to get into all of it. It just come out when I'm doing my videos. But basically, even though I wasn't the mom growing up, I feel like my biological mom was struggling, and she wasn't emotionally available to take care of me or to explain things. And she expected me to just understand everything, which I did not. And I feel like I kind of ended up playing kind of a mom role for my siblings, and realizing that as a mom, kids don't pay attention to what mom's needs are. They don't get met. They're not worried about how mom feels. They're worried about, how they feel. And it's mom's job to make them feel better and to boost them up and help them learn how to take care of themselves. Well, no one was helping me do that. So I was trying to figure out how to do that for them. And it was exhausting. And I didn't have the skills. I didn't know what I was doing. And then I felt like I was constantly being ignored because I wasn't getting that attention. I wasn't getting someone showing me how to take care of myself, or telling me what I needed to do, or telling me that I was doing a good job, or any of those things. So I was just blindly trying to figure things out and just trying to make everybody else happy, and assuming that as long as they were happy, I was happy, except that I wasn't happy. I was completely empty. And so that was kind of stuff that came up in my counseling session, and that's kind of where I'm at in my book. How to recognize God's hand in my life is to write about all those things. And I'm just like, oh, I don't like dealing with all those emotions, because I still know that they're old emotions. They're not things that are happening to me in my life right now. Because I'm able to validate things for myself. I'm able to do things and tell myself that I'm doing a good job. I mean, I did 100 days of YouTube videos focusing on gratitude. So I'm like, yes, I did 100 days. I can do this. And I'm on day 34 of my 100 days of writing. And I was like, I can do this. I can do this in spite of how I feel. I know I can do this. And I'm 2 chapters away from finishing revising my one book and having it ready to go. Try to find somebody to edit it for me so that I can get it published. I mean, I'm doing everything that I've committed myself to do, and it feels very good. I feel very grateful to my Heavenly Father for helping me and encouraging me to do this, for my friends and for my family that are supporting me and encouraging me to do this. So my present life is very, very different as far as being validated and feeling fulfilled than my teenage years were. But it's very hard when those emotions kind of overlap. And I have friends and people in my life that are struggling with things, and they're coming to me for support, which is normally something I'd freely give. I'm happy to give. I'm happy to do, except that right now I'm in a place where I'm being triggered by a time in my life where I didn't have anything to give, and it was all being sucked out of me anyway. It was taken. I was giving what I didn't have, trying to fill a void for my siblings, for my biological mother, and being empty myself and not knowing how to regenerate, not knowing how to fill that void for me, and knowing that I wasn't doing a good enough job of filling it for them, or they wouldn't keep coming back for more. And I was like, I don't know what else to do. So, but now I have a better idea as to how to be more supportive and how to just listen and how to do all of those things. But it's odd because now doing that, which is something I've done most of my life, suddenly feels like a trigger, like I'm not getting attention, like I'm being ignored. And of course, that's where I'm at in my book, which is why I need to finish it, because I know if I sit down and work through that chapter or those chapters that are about that, I will feel a lot better, because it will help me to put things in a different perspective, just like writing in my journal is doing and doing these videos is doing. So it's something I need to do, but as is my pattern, I have a tendency to avoid doing those things because it does require extra effort, extra work. It is very emotional, and a lot of the emotional things can be very physically exhausting. It's odd to me, but it's very true that emotional things can be physically exhausting. They can have a physical effect on our bodies. We can make ourselves ill, or our bodies respond by being ill if we don't take care of our emotional issues and traumas. Um, it's just how our body responds, I think, is a form of protecting us or helping us to deal with those emotions. um, I don't entirely understand how that works. I just know that sometimes my emotions make it very difficult for me to have energy or motivation to do stuff. So it's like, oh, it's kind of, that fight. I have to fight my emotions. I have to let myself be like, okay, I have to deal with this. Um, but then, of course, I was remembering my counselor saying that, be careful about writing, because writing will bring up stuff, which is good because it'll help you process it, but it'll bring it up too. So if you're not ready to deal with it, then maybe you shouldn't be writing about it. I was like, cool, I'm not ready to deal with this, but it's coming up anyway. So I'm going to have to just write about it to get it out of my system. It's kind of the message I'm getting from my higher power and from doing these videos. And then I'm sure I will start to feel a little bit better. It's just how this process works. It's a process of healing. And there's also multiple layers of it. I'm sure this stuff will come up again at other times in my life. They're just triggers, but hopefully the more deeper layers I process, the less I will feel triggered by them. And I will be like, okay, yeah, that happened. That's sad, but I have a different perspective. I've worked through that. I'm okay. And I can move on. And I don't have to let it stop me in my life. And right now I feel like it's stopping me in my life, which I don't like, because I do like the fact that I've been moving forward and I've been making all these strides and progress. And I don't want to stop the progress that I've been making. I don't want to give up on my goals because I'm being triggered by things from the past. And I was going to say silly things, but it's not silly. It was very real when I was growing up, and it feels very real right now, even though it's not what's actually happening in my life right now. So it's the struggle to separate the two, to be like, okay, this is past and this is present, and it's okay to deal with the past, but not to let the past take over the present. And that's a struggle that I have, and some days it's a much more difficult struggle than others. But I think I'm very grateful to be in a place in my life where I can deal with those emotions from the past, because I haven't dealt with them and I wasn't in a safe place to deal with them at the time that it was occurring. Which, that's how the whole PTSD thing works. You don't process it and deal with it in the moment, then it comes back and haunts you. And it keeps coming back to haunt you until you figure it out and deal with it. And then you just have to learn not to let those triggers pull you back. Which again is easier said than done. And sometimes it's really easy, and other times it's just like comes out of nowhere and it's like, I don't know where that came from. I don't even know what I'm triggered by. I think for the most part right now, I'm much better at recognizing that I've been triggered. Not necessarily. And then when I realize I've been triggered, I can usually figure out what triggered me, but it doesn't stop me from feeling triggered. It doesn't stop me from feeling, from wanting to avoid those emotions and facing those things. But I'm learning that the sooner I face them, the sooner I deal with them, the sooner I feel better about myself, and I can come back to the present and be okay. And the sooner I work through all of this old stuff, the sooner it will stop preventing me from moving forward with the future stuff that I want to do with my life. But I know it's a process, and I keep wanting to just skip through the process, or I just want to speed through the process. And I can't speed through it. There's certain order everything has to be done in. There's timing for everything. And I know I do things when I'm ready to do them, and I can't force myself to do it. And I can say prayers and pray for help and guidance to get through it. And sometimes I will get answers and I will get realizations that this is what I'm struggling with. At other times, it's just like, okay, I just can't face this right now. So then I'm like, okay, what can I face? What can I do? What can I deal with? So for the past 2-3 days, since I can't face my other book, I've been working on just Linoleia and the Teachers of Powers, but at least I'm getting closer with that, and at least I haven't given up on my writing. And I know I only have 2 more chapters, so I only have 2 more days, and then I'm gonna have to face recognizing God's hand in my life, because I feel like that's the next book that I have to finish doing. And that's gonna be a whirlwind of emotions trying to get through that book. But I also realized when I was journaling that it was really hard when I first wrote everything down. But as I've gone back through the chapters I thought were going to be hard or difficult to do or share, weren't as bad as I thought they were going to be. Maybe I did a little bit of crying, a little bit of whatever, but I was actually okay, and I could actually read it from an outside perspective and kind of put my thoughts in there and not be and not totally have to relive the whole thing. I think I kind of relived it the first time I wrote it, and I was like, I can't do this. And now it's just kind of like, okay, I can think a little bit more clearly when I go back through and rewrite it, and it's not as scary, as bad as I think that it is or imagine that it was. And I think a lot of things felt a lot worse when I was younger, and as I write them out, it's like, oh, this isn't as bad. But it isn't as bad because there's so many years separated from here and then, from here and yeah, from here and back then, from now and then. There we go, now and then. That's a movie title too, I think. Anyway, yeah, that's where my brain goes, random places. But also as an adult, and with all the progress, the counseling and 12 steps and things that I've done in my life, I have a different perspective. So when I look back at those things, I'm like, okay, this is how I felt then, but this is really the lessons that I learned, and this is how God was blessing me in my life back then, that I either knew at the time or I didn't know at the time, but I can look back and see that it was a blessing. So it just helps me to feel better, to feel loved, and to know that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I know I still just keep avoiding doing it, which is frustrating to me that I do that, but that seems to be my pattern and my cycle, and I can't seem to force myself to break it. But I know that I'm making progress in what I've been doing, and I'm grateful for that, and I'm grateful that I've been able to continue to do these videos and to kind of do a little bit of journaling tonight to kind of work through some of those triggers. And hopefully that wasn't too crazy with all of my triggers. This just felt like a YouTube video about triggers instead of a YouTube video about writing. I did writing though. I did, I did some of that. But this is my process that I'm sharing. And if you like, you can hit like, subscribe. If you think it'll help someone else, you can share it with them. And I hope that by sharing my story and my process, that it reaches other people that are struggling with similar things, whether it's with writing or with emotions or traumas or triggers or whatever it is. And I hope you know that there is a way up, there is a way out, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. It is not a train, and there is hope through the atonement of our Savior, Jesus Christ. And I am grateful to know that, and I'm grateful I can share that in these videos. So that's all I have for today. So I hope you have a great day full of gratitude and maybe some writing.